Hi there, welcome back to Weatherford Daze. This is Jason. I'm here with my wife Rachel, and as always, we are on the lovely couch. I just keep coming back and saying that big comfy couch, and we're here to hopefully entertain you and stir your spirit and help you.
Did you say that with a question mark?
because I because
We're going to stir your spirit
oh, you want to just we're gonna stir your spirit.
like we're cooking Thanksgiving dinner.
We're gonna stir it right up like banana pudding.
Hmm, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah. So, the reason we're talking about food and Thanksgiving is because this is our Thanksgiving episode. We know it's a few weeks early, but we will be taking the next couple of weeks off. So, we wanted to take the opportunity to talk about one of my favorite holidays of the year, next to Christmas,
It's
and that is
practice for
Thanksgiving.
Christmas.
Yes. And the reason why I love Thanksgiving so much is because, I mean, number one, it kicks off the Christmas season,
Mm.
but it's all about coming together as a family and focusing on what you're thankful for. For me, typically the thing I'm most thankful for on Thanksgiving is my family. So we wanted to do an episode just talking about family. What is a family? What does it mean? How do you know, if you weren't lucky enough to be born into a family, how do you find a family? Just yeah. So we're gonna see where we end up,
Yeah.
and we're just going to talk about something that everybody tends to have. Everybody knows, at least by the time they've gotten to adulthood, most people have found some form of family.
They may not want to put that word on it because sometimes they have hangups with that, but your friend group can sometimes be that for you.
So I was reading a book this last week, as per usual, and it was once again a book about fairies.
It was either at that or elves or magic.
I think I have a problem. I really, really enjoy those cozy fantasy books. This one was a book called Rhyme, Riddle, and Romance. So you have it here for me. It is by Tony Cabell, and I've read the whole series. It's a 3-book series, but it's just a really cute series about this family of fairies and werewolves and vampires, and just it's a mix mash, and some of them are blood and some of them are adopted and just kind of brought in. And one of the most beautiful things about this family is how they love and pitch in and help each other. And it just made me, while I'm in the middle of this, this one is about a fairy who has been left an inheritance by her great aunt. She's trying to start a bakery, and she also has been gifted the a part owner, 10% part owner. She owns 90% of the bakery, with some provisos in there that she has to provide this part owner employment and a place to stay for at least a year. And then after the year, if it's not working out, she has to buy out his well, see, it's a his. She thinks it's a her, but it was her great aunt's assistant that her great aunt kind of included in the will. It's like, yes, I'm going to leave you this bakery, but also I want my assistant to be taken care of. An assistant named Leslie, who's a man.
Less.
Yes. But it just, of course, as these cozy fairy stories tend to do, they end up, he's a werewolf, she's a fairy, but they end up being, falling in love and going through lots of different hijinks and things. But The underlying thing there is, he found a family in her great aunt and then is accepted into, as he's falling in love with this girl, into her family, and she has this wonderful actual real family that is there for her when things are falling apart, when she doesn't know what to do or where to turn. She's going to her family for advice, for support, and they're there for her every step of the way. And it really did just make me go, you know what? I've got a family like that and I love it. I've got the family that if there's a need, I know I can turn to them and count on them. And they know that, they can do the same for me. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing.
Like when your dryer just dies and the cables melt
Hmm.
and you need help. Just show up like Johnny on the spot and just. But honestly, it's not just what they can do for you. It's the how.
Hmm.
And it's the person they are when they're standing in that gap for you. Because you could just hire somebody off of Craigslist or whatever, but it's not the same. It's someone who wants to do right by you, wants to help you, and not because of any gain for themselves, but just because they care about you. And that's something that's, I think, special about that.
Hmm. It reminds me of, we had a situation, and you don't know about this yet,
Oh,
with our girls today, where you guys have met our two girls. Our oldest she's got her car and her job, and she loves taking her little sister to go and do things. They are constantly going out to get coffee, go to bookstores, go thrifting. The oldest one is running her sister, or did for the past couple of months, running her sister to play practices so that she was able to be in that. But one of the things that has been happening is the older one is asking her sister to help her with a lot of things and getting out the door. Oh, well, can you fill my water bottle? Can you help me get this together? Can you help me with this and this? And the youngest one kind of, after a little while, started going, why am I always having to run errands for you? Why am I having to do this? And we kind of had, again, one of those situations, and it led to a really interesting conversation just about family in general. And it was kind of one of those where I'm going, I love that you two are able to do these things, but let's talk about families and how they work together and how to set those boundaries, right?
hmm,
Because the thing is when you have families and you have a situation like that where you've got somebody's asking somebody else to do something, and that person is asking for something else to be done, while you need to be careful not to over ask, you also need to realize that there's both sides of it, right? It's like if one person is being feeling like they're being taken advantage of,
right.
then you don't want to do that. You want to be able to say, oh, well, hang on, maybe I'm doing too much. But at the same time, you also, when you're in a family, there's kind of just the expectation that if you can, you should, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, question is this subconsciously your way of going, well, I am taking you out and you don't have a car,
Hmm.
so this is gas money. So if our youngest like just laid down $20, would our oldest still ask her to fill the water jug and help get things ready to go? So is that all it is? It's just, you getting stuff is kind of paying me back for taking you
Hmm.
out to hang out and do stuff.
It's interesting, though, how much more that happens in a family dynamic than it does in any other. Of just maybe because there's a lack of communication where resentments start building.
Yeah.
And when you actually both talk about what you're thinking, then it's like, well, okay, maybe I am asking too much, or the other person is going, why am I getting bent out of shape over because of this? Maybe, like, maybe I should just actually, as a sign of my gratitude for what you do, I should just do this.
Right.
It's like on both sides, just talking it through and actually going, hey, one person is realizing, well, maybe I should do this, but maybe also, I'm justified in this. And the other person is going, well, maybe I should do this, but maybe I'm also justified in, feeling like maybe it's too much. So
Right.
there is a communication that can happen on a deeper level with family that when you have a good enough relationship to be able to do that, to be able to talk things through and know that at the end of the conversation, you're still going to love each other,
That's key.
you know, that's something that just shows the depth of commitment that there is with a relationship. Friends can walk away. Families a lot of times can't. Especially when you live together. It's like when you have situations where you're adults and you're living separately, there's more of a distance that happens there and less of a need to communicate everything. It's like, okay, well, I know that you do this and it kind of bugs me, but because I don't see you all the time, I can tolerate it, you know? And I feel like the holidays are a lot of the times when you see those things pick up.
Ah,
For our family, and I know my sister's not going to watch this, but my older sister cannot stand to have conversations about politics or religion. A couple other people there that, completely back her up. Then you've got the other half of the family that's their favorite discussions in the world to have. And when they get together with family, that's what they want to be talking about. So you've got that family dynamic there of, you know, one group, a very strong group, that's there like, no, we're not going to discuss this. And another part that's going, but why not? But because you go, well, can I put down my desires to accommodate you? That's an act of service. It's not always just about, I'm going to do this for you. It's also your attitude. It's your words. It's, the things that you say and that you do that you go, okay, well, because I love you, I will give up the topic that I want to talk about for you. Even if I may think that you're, a little bit over the top to ask that,
right.
right? It's love and going, okay, well, I'll just make a time to be able to talk with the ones that want to talk politics some other time. You can accommodate out of love, and you don't have to have, some things it's like, okay, if you're living in close contact with them, like our girls are living together, they have to work through issues. I'm not living with my older sister. I can accommodate her without a confrontation or a need to, tell her, well, that's actually kind of annoying, sis, that you won't let me have the discussions I want to have. No. So I think that's a part of the family dynamics, right? Is that wisdom and learning timing, what you need to actually address, what you don't, what you can let go, those quirks that you just live with. You may roll your eyes a little bit, but you live with them and you let it go. And I feel like the kind of the closer that you get, the more that you have to have the hard conversations and the hard boundary lines drawn. And
Get your
then
feelings
as
all
they
wrapped
go
up in it.
out further and further, you've got the close family, the extended family, then you've got, the community family at large. That it's like, I'm not around these people enough to have to draw these boundaries at all. You know, we're going to be on our best behavior. And you still have, that family and connection and the things in common,
Right.
but it's more of, I'm not going to bring every little need that I have to my church family, right? But I also know that I have a church family that if I have a huge need, they'll be there and I
Right.
can count on them. So, yeah, I got stuck on that for a really long time, didn't I? Let's we'll move on. The next thing about family that I just want to appreciate here
Right.
is another book that I'm reading right now is uh, I've got it right here. I'm reading this book. It's called A Lineage of Grace by Francine Rivers. And I think I've talked about when we were reading through the one on Tamar. It's a book, well, it's got 5 stories combined into this one. So 5 like novellas. The one that we're reading right now is the story of Ruth. And it's Unshaken. So all of these are stories about women who are in the lineage of Jesus. But this one, especially, just looking through a fictionalized retelling of Ruth and Naomi and Boaz, one of the things that really strikes you when you look at Ruth's story is the service, her willingness to give up her people to take on Naomi's. Her most famous line, where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God.
Right.
And then, next thing she knows, after following her mother-in-law back to the Israelites, because she was from Moab, and Naomi and her husband and children had moved to Moab during a famine. And then after her husband and 2 sons died, leaving Naomi with her 2 daughter-in-laws, then Naomi decided to go back to Israel. And one of the girls stays. Ruth decides to go with her. It's just, I've always loved the story of Ruth, but reading this, it really does just emphasize what a sacrifice that was for Ruth to leave everything, to then go, and it's 2 women on their own with no one to care for them, no one to provide for them. And she finds herself in just picking up behind the threshers as they're threshing wheat, just picking up the scraps that are left over. And just that service, that work. And Boaz, who's the owner of the field, shows favor to her, and he provides protection for her, and then starts, he asks for the workers to leave her extra. When Naomi sees how kind he is to Ruth, then it's like, the next step happens. Naomi devises a plan to basically ask Boaz to be their kinsman redeemer, and sends Ruth to ask Boaz, basically to propose marriage to him in the middle of night. And then Boaz agrees to do that. There's another relative that he has to check with first, but the other relative lets Boaz do it rather than him.
Right.
There's a lot to the story, but the basics of it is that then Ruth is actually a part of Jesus' lineage because of her love for her mother-in-law and her being willing to listen to her advice. And one of the reasons why Boaz agrees to marry Ruth is everybody knows what an honorable woman you are. She's seen as honorable among the Jews because of the way that she cares for Naomi. She went above and beyond in making sure that this older widow woman was not alone. And there's such a beauty in that story. And, just giving of yourself is something that really is family.
I think that you're serving one another without thought for yourself and without thought of monetary gain. It's not about that at all. And the thing is, that's how we're meant to relate to each other as the body of Christ. So ultimately, instead of just being, we're all co-workers, it's not that. It's in the family of Jesus, in the spiritual family, he uses familial language. He uses, you've got things like, you don't just have just a God. You've got words like father. You've got words like son. You've got words like brother and sister, and you have those familial terms, and you can't help but have service within that. And there's a sacrifice that you make for each other. You offer your body up as a living sacrifice, but not just to God, but to each other. It says, "No greater love hath any man than he lay down his life for his friends." That's what family does for each other, or should do for each other every chance they can get.
So the next book that I was thinking about,
Okay.
that, well, and this one is fun because it's not only a book, it's also a play and a movie,
Mm.
and that is Oliver. And our girls were a part of Oliver.
Yes, they
That
were.
was really fun. But that gave me a chance to talk with them about, and I think that, anytime that you get a chance to talk with your kids about something, it makes you look at things in an even deeper way. With Oliver, I mean, the entire story is about finding a family, right? So you've got Oliver, who's an orphan, who is placed into a so called family, right? He's given to someone, it's an undertaker.
Pickpocketing thief. No.
Well, the
Oh
first
wait. Oh, you're
one,
okay.
yeah,
The
the first one
Undertaker
is the
and the wife.
undertaker and his
Right.
wife.
Right.
And you see that they have no intentions of treating him in any way as a child or caring for his needs at all.
Right.
It's all about what he can do for them, right? Thankfully, Oliver doesn't stay there for very long. He is able to escape and run away. And you see this, it's the journey of, there's something I don't have that I desperately need. So I'm going, because it doesn't just get handed to me, now I'm going to go and try and find it. So he's headed out and he finds a city. Do we know what city is it? Is it London?
It's always London.
Okay.
It's
But he finds a city,
Dickensville.
right? And he stumbles upon another boy who, a little bit older boy, who takes him under his wing and says, "Hey, you look hungry. You look like you need a place to stay. I've got just the place for you." And he brings him home to Fagin and the rest of the boys, right? And Fagin's got his own kind of family going on. And I think that, before discussing with my girls
Right.
through this play experience that they got to have, that I hadn't really had a lot of appreciation for Fagin. They gave me more perspective for him because you really do. I think that just watching the movie, I judged Fagin pretty harshly, but I came to have an appreciation for him. He really was trying. As an imperfect person, he really was trying to provide a home for these boys. He just didn't know how to do it well.
It also helped that our girls liked the actor in their play, and it you strangely enough, if you portray the character, you can read the same line, the way you could see it in the movie version. You're like, and then the same line portrayed in a different way or read in a different way by the actor with a different emphasis, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I feel for them now. So, so how much of it is the written word, and how much of it is the portrayal
This
that
is the
kind of guided
thing
your
of,
thoughts on that?
you see this man who, yes, he's using these boys for his own selfish gain, right?
Right.
But at the same time, he's providing for these kids something that no one else would. And that's a roof over their heads and food in their bellies and clothing and a sense of community together.
Right.
He brings some lightness into the way that he interacts with them. He is kind to them and he does care for them. You see him trying to protect Oliver against Bill,
Yeah.
right?
Bill Sykes.
Bill Sykes. You see him, you know, he doesn't manage it well. He's scared of Bill too.
Right.
But you see him trying to protect at times, you know, where he actually does go, well, now hang on, you know, maybe we shouldn't do this. So there is some, you know, and again, you kind of wonder, what is his backstory? How did he get here? Was he, you know, himself raised in this?
Is that how he started?
Right. How did he get to where he is? And you do kind of see, you see those family cycles kind of happening there with him. Of a lot of times, if you're raised in this, then you just have this tendency to carry on the negative patterns of behavior. And that can, you know, that's another aspect of family, is how to break those negative cycles, how to recognize them even. You
Yeah.
know, what do you do when you're so far into it? And you see that with Fagin, you know, at the very end where he's like, you know, the whole, I think I better think it over again. And he's going, well, maybe I can. Is this the time to start new, to start fresh? Can I get out of this?
Right.
And with him, you know, you kind of see him trying to make the right decision and then ultimately ending up not being able to break free. And it's a tragic story for him, because what you want to see after all of this is him going, it is him choosing the good, is him going, you know what, maybe I can start out again fresh as an honest man. Maybe I can work rather than steal. You know? And you see his influence passing on to the boys. Then you see Oliver, who, through all of this, you know, he could very easily have been swept in and convinced that the right thing to do is to just steal. But it's Oliver's inability to fully sink to that level and to adopt that mindset that actually is what pulls him out of that. It's because he's really not good at it that he gets caught immediately, and he gets his happily ever after
Right.
because someone sees in him something that can be redeemed. And I mean, you come to find out that this is Oliver's grandfather, actually, but that didn't even need to be a part of the story.
Right.
You know, it's kind of, it's like, oh, well, that's cool that it actually was, but they loved him and were willing to take him in because of who he was, because of, you know, who he was in his soul, not because who he was biologically, which is just such a beautiful story, just of redemption and of finding the one thing that the little boy needed was to find a family, and he does.
Right.
So the last thing, or the last book, well, this one's a movie that I wanted to talk about, and another one that's just, I'm talking about it because it's a recent thing that I've watched with my girls, and that is Anne of Avonlea.
Ah.
I oh, this is one that I grew up with. I love Anne, and I love the books. They are incredible. Again, this that's one of those that's going to be one of the top recommendations for me ever. Like, if you've not read Anne of Green Gables, you should read it. It's incredible. But the movies, now the movies are kind of, you know, Anne of Green Gables, that one, and these are the 1985 ones with Megan Fowler's specifically that I really love. The Anne of Green Gables is pretty close to the book. Anne of Avonlea kind of diverges a little bit more. You have a lot more that's there that just, you know, it wasn't in the book. That's okay. It's still, it very much captures the essence of who Anne is. And I love that. But while I'm watching through this, and if you're not familiar with the story, Anne, this is after she has gone through university to become a teacher. She's gotten her teacher certification. She teaches for a year at home, and then she decides to go on the recommendation of her former school teacher, Miss Stacy, to teach at a school in Kingsport for it's a all girls school,
Right.
and you see a lot of the movie is based in this school. You meet pretty quickly a lady named Catherine Brooke, who is the headmistress or principal, I believe is actually her title, of the school. And Catherine she's prickly. She's one that my girls are kind of going, oh, what is the matter with her? She meets Anne and immediately takes a dislike to her. And you can't figure out why.
Hmm.
Why does she object to Anne so much? And she's just determined to kind of counter everything that Anne tries to, Anne is the eternal optimist. She tries to find the beauty in every situation, the joy in every situation. She's the glass is half full meets the glass is half empty with Catherine Brooke. And I made the statement, because Lydia, my youngest, was like, "Oh, yeah, I don't like her." And I went, "Okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a spoiler here. By the end of this show, you will love Catherine Brooke." And it's because of her finding a family and her being thawed by Anne. And really, as much as this story is about Anne, it's also about Catherine. You see and you find through the course of this why she's so bitter, why she's pushed everyone away. She had a hard life, and you
Mm.
actually she's someone that you also see that Anne could have very easily become. Her story could have very easily become Catherine's,
Mm.
because Catherine was also an orphan. She didn't have anyone. She was rejected by the world, and so she rejected the world.
She got bitter.
She did. And Anne was rejected by the world, but kept this optimism and this hope. And through that, she found love. Catherine pushed away everybody who even attempted as a way of protecting herself. You find out that she doesn't even like teaching. She does it because it's the only thing available to her. She started to teach, or she decided to become a teacher because she was smart. She had the scores, and that was a way for her to provide for herself. But she felt stuck. It wasn't what she would necessarily have chosen, but her attitude and her pushing away everybody kind of made it where she didn't have any other options. But Anne invites her for the summer holidays to come home with her to Avonlea.
I see what family's like.
Hmm. And you see, just, as soon as she steps foot into Avonlea, she's met and embraced. Just, Marilla and Rachel Lynn and the entire community of Avonlea just kind of wrap their arms around her and say, hey, we'll love you. You can belong here. And Catherine Brooke just melts. And it's like she's given this second lease on life of going, it's beautiful here. And I actually have a hope that maybe my life doesn't have to be bleak and alone. Maybe I can have what Anne has. Maybe I can have beauty and love and people who actually care for me. And it changes everything about who she is. And it's so beautiful. But I think that's the thing that I like the most about every story that I know of that focuses on family. There are the ones where you've got the dysfunctional family. You've got the ones, you've got Harry Potter, who his real family, they weren't, they didn't seem like they were capable of love. But by the end, there's hope there. And he finds an entirely new family. But at the same time, he also learns to kind of function with his real family. Every story that I know of, even though there are places where they dysfunction, they all end up with happy. Because when it comes to finding a place to belong, it's something attainable for each and every one of us.
Yeah.
There is nowhere ever where a story needs to end with somebody being alone. no matter how long you go, pushing people away or feeling like you can't have that. You can't have that acceptance and that love, you know, and you may never find a husband or a wife. You may not ever find a romantic love, but having a family that will be there for you, that will care for you, that will offer advice, that will lend you a helping hand, that, will rescue you when you're overwhelmed or you don't know what to do, that's something that's available to us all. We just have to keep looking. We just have to keep searching, and it's out there, no matter how old you are. Whether you're finding at a young age like Oliver, or whether you're finding, well into adulthood like Catherine Brooke, it's there, and there's hope, and I really do think that if you have a family, you've got everything that you need in this world. Well, aside from God. But I feel like God connects us into family more than anything else. You know, you move to a new city, you're all alone, you're looking for that family. Pretty easy way to find it. Go to a church.
Good one.
You
That's
know,
a good point.
it's a ready-made group of people that you have something in commonality with. You have a connect point that will accept you and love you. And Thanksgivings should never be alone. So, for all of you out there, happy Thanksgiving. Have a wonderful time with your family.
We're thankful for you. We're thankful you spent time with us and that you've spent time with us for as long as we've been doing this. And we hope to do it for quite many times more for you.
So, we're going to wrap that up. We'll say goodbye, and we will see you in a few weeks.
All right.
After Thanksgiving or some Christmas.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Bye. See you next time.